Hey, do you own a TP-Link router? Are you wondering if perhaps it's not that secure and maybe perhaps there are some exploits and how you can rectify that? In this video, I'm going to discuss how you can avoid exploits with your TP-Link router. Now this comes from cybernews.com, and it's an article pertaining to explaining the fact that recently there is an exploit that afflicts and affects quite a few TP-Link routers. And so this video will have some tips on, number one, how to tell if you're affected, and then therefore how to avoid. So let me cut to the chase. This is TP-Link's official website, tp-link.com, and they have an article that was updated a few years ago pertaining to the end-of-life products. So this is how you can avoid. This article recommends that you replace a router. The reason why that is most likely an accurate tip is because these end-of-life routers, they no longer patch, so they no longer have updates. Therefore, if there's an exploit, they don't even care. This exploit, and I'll get to it, has been known for about 2 years. So the fact that these routers from TP-Link are no longer being supported officially, they're not going to create updates. Therefore, there could be exploits with that router, or routers plural, and obviously that's not very productive. So what you want to do is you could pause the video and type that Uniform Resource Locator highlight on screen right here, or just look for this article at tp-link.com. It's a lengthy list. Look at all these routers, and I will get to it. I'll quickly show you how to find out your router model number and serial number. It's basically right staring at you. You could pause this video, but there is a separate page, and I'll go over that. So as you can tell, look at all these routers. Home networking. These are the models, and what else? The versions, models, and replacement model. None of these have a replacement model. Okay. So these, just look at this endless parade. There's high power routers, portable routers, 5G even, mobile Wi-Fi, desktop access points. So it just goes on and on. And so you could use this list to find out if your router has been retired. And then it would become susceptible to exploits. I will discuss the exploit. Okay, now quickly, this article from tp-link.com shows you that the last update was 2016, and this article discussed that. That's old. I've discussed this before. The capitalist gone wild. A lot of these technology companies, they basically kind of lie, or they use marketing and sales tactics, and they tell you that they care about security and, oh, don't worry, we roll out updates. No. Look at this. This update is from 2016. That's the last update, and they mention it in this article right here. And I could probably search for it again. Okay, let me search for it, and I'll just look for the date, 2016. It says here, the last available firmware versions for the affected versions were released in 2016. And it says here that newer hardware versions. The first affected model was the TP-Link TLWR940N, 400 megabits per second router. The versions 2 and 4, you notice in this chart here, they tell you the version. That's important. Number one, you want to know the model number, right? Number two, you want to know the version, because this exploit may not cover every version, right? So you want to verify. If you don't have one of these routers that have this susceptible to this exploit, you don't necessarily need to replace them. You could contact TP-Link if you're interested in replacing them. Okay, so here's how to find the hardware version on a TP-Link. And let me close that one. I just want to prove to you that that's old. 2016? Are you insane? Okay. Yeah, these companies, they don't care about security. They tell you they do, but they don't. Okay. So you can look on the back of the device for a label. Also, you could use the engraved characters on the device, and then, okay, let's see. I think if I expand that, yeah, it was on that page. You look on the label, and you look for the model number. This is a model Archer C2300. Oh, the number 23 and the number 32, and then the version 1.0. So it's very important that you know the exact model, and then you know the version too. Okay. Now let's start from the beginning, and I'll try to keep this video down to a minimum here. Okay, so this agency, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, they updated their known exploited catalog vulnerabilities, and they included TP-Link. You don't ever want this to happen. There is a command injection vulnerability. What that means is that remotely, with this exploit, somebody could issue commands, and not only is this exploit if you're on the internet, also locally. You know what I'm saying? And that would be people that should not be able to issue commands, and you never want that to occur. Now, the flaw was discovered 2 years ago, and did TP-Link know? Now, I didn't verify that. If they knew and they don't care, or they have done nothing, that's all you have to know. These companies now, a lot of them don't care. Well, it costs money. They have to pay developers. They have to then, patch the exploit. Then they have to, roll it out and blah, blah. Okay, it's a command injection vulnerability 2 years ago already. Now, recently they claimed that individuals on the internet that are nefarious have been using this exploit. So this is an active exploit that's being used to an advantage for somebody. It's highly severe. It has a score rate of 8.8 out of 10. I don't really know about that. I have to look up that chart, but you know what I'm saying. Anybody can execute commands on these routers without proper authorization, meaning without like an administrator account and a password. You know what I mean? Quote, these types of vulnerabilities are frequent attack vectors for malicious cyber actors and pose significant risks to the federal enterprise, blah, 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 unquote. Yeah, TP-Link routers are popular. Did I ever own one? No, I've never owned a router, but I have owned a TP-Link wireless card, at least one. Okay, that's the 8-minute mark. Okay, so they tell you the first effective model. I already went over that. That model is still available for purchase, and allegedly it has 9,000 reviews, so there could be a lot of those models out in the wild, so to speak. And then the last firmware version was back in 2016. Give me a break, man. Now here's another TP-Link model. Last firmware was 2015. It affects versions V8 and V10, which means version 8, version 10 of that router. The double sevens, 77,000 reviews. So now that router was first made in 2005. But if you're not aware, a lot of these routers, they release new ones with a different version, and then they sell them as new. But some of these routers are actually older. This one dates from 2005. And they have 11 different versions, and they've reached end of life. So when these routers reach end of life, they automatically no longer receive any more support. Therefore, they're not going to create any firmwares and or updates for them, and then therefore any exploits are just waiting, just an open door. Here's another model. The specified versions have not been updated for 15 years now. This model, the WR740N, both versions 1 and 2. It does have that same vulnerability. Yeah. Now they're all these routers are end of life. This model series right here. What else? Okay. Yeah, all you have to do is specify a GET request. If you're a programmer, you know what I'm talking about. If you never studied programming, you're not going to have any clue what I'm talking about. Post, GET request, blah, blah. A GET, well, it's self-explanatory. The word GET, you're pulling data to yourself, right? But you don't want anybody to run any kind of commands ever. That you don't want people to issue commands on your router, right? Why would you? Okay, so they failed to properly validate, and then that allows people to inject malicious commands in. So there is some kind of a bug where if you send a GET request, then it opens that exploit, which then allows people to then inject commands. You do know that, right? Routers are command line. You just don't see it. A lot of them are web-based, but you do know that that GUIs, graphical user interface, even though, well, yeah, graphical user interface, like a program, it issues commands. The difference is instead of going into a command prompt and typing that command, you code it, so you just click on a button, or, you know what I'm saying? Okay. What else? That's it. Good luck. Adios.